42.
JK, I know. Yeah, it's 42.
The answer to everything.
Big 42.
The Hitchhiker's Guide thing.
Yeah.
I didn't really like those books.
Never read them.
Me either.
Yeah. They were like, oh, you're interested in science fiction as a kid. They're like, you got to read. These books are like classics. And I was like, this is just like dumb. And then I tried them again later, and I never got into them. But there are people that are like die-hard fans of those books.
My dad's like huge nerd for those books and was always, as a kid, trying to get me to read them. I think that made it even more like, nah, man.
I always kind of felt like they were like Illuminati trilogy light.
Yeah.
I mean, considering I really like the Illuminati trilogy, the Robert Anton Wilson ones.
Yeah.
I love those books, and I love Robert Anton Wilson, and I hated The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and all of the Adams books. I don't know if I necessarily agree, but I can see the comparisons, yeah.
I don't know if my opinion was valid at all, but that's just always why I kind of steered away from them. Because like I did read a few chunks and stuff, and it was just kind of like, yeah, I don't know.
Greg, your opinion is always valid.
No.
It is to me. It means a lot.
And me.
Trash.
All of our opinions are trash.
Right.
There's so many times I've come on here and recommended something as being the best module ever, then 3 weeks later sold it. Just like the Cosmix Pro, which I need to have a little redaction about. To be like, yeah, that thing wasn't as good as the Frap tool mixers for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't like the way shit distorted, the fact that you had to trim the channels, low aux send levels, and most of all the fader curve, which he's now addressing with module updates. And you can actually put resistors on the back of the existing module to change the fader curve, and he's going to change how all the production modules are.
So this is an actual like hardware change. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Goddamn, those faders are almost like a button in a way. It was like everything, nothing, everything. Kind of like too exponential feel, not linear enough.
I'm surprised there wasn't already like some sort of pot on the back to like, you know what I mean? Like fine tune that. But it's been a while since I had one, but I feel like the IntelliGel Mutamix was similar back in the day. And I thought there was trim pots on the back for that exact reason. But
that would be cool to be able to change the curve like that.
Yeah.
Because you could use it for either CV or audio, which I was doing both at the time when I had one.
Right.
It's still probably like one of my favorite mixers of all time. It just started getting too much bleed and it had no stereo capabilities. But
yeah, Cosmix sounded great. No bleed that I could tell. It was maybe too much mixing for me in that way. And I was just kind of annoyed at getting into these situations where it would distort terribly in an unpleasing way, like broken chip sound kind of distortion versus the Frap, which just saturates and has like panel controls for the gain versus the volume. So that was always, sorry for anybody that I misled with my shitty review, but get used to it. There's more coming.
I mean, we all know that Cosmotronics paid you off.
Oh, yeah.
And this is going to suck because now they're going to sue you. You're going to have to go to court, and there's going to be, they're going to get all your text messages. This is going to be like a full-on Dominion Fox News thing.
And he's going to make the AI of me. That's the most fucked up part.
Buy Cosmix Pro.
It was a good module. I take it all back.
By the way, Greg, was that your impression of Nick? Was that your AI version of Nick?
I think it's my imitation of just AI. In
Gotcha.
Same thing.
It's trying to do like kind of like the TikTok voice.
It's a TikTok voice?
Oh, jeez.
I'm almost 50. How much TikTok do you think I'm exposed to? 0.
What happens when Dave watches TikTok?
I seriously don't know what you're talking
Now
about.
he's patching the modular system. It's usually like it gets some words wrong and it's like,
yeah.
Oh, is this some kind of like closed captioning? Like auto-generated?
It's text to speech.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And there's different voices. There's the standard excited woman that everyone uses. And then there's like this raspy old guy, which is my favorite, but like doesn't get enough use.
Doesn't get much use.
Yeah. What happens when Dave watches TikTok?
I will take your word for all of this. This is a real thing.
I don't use TikTok, but I see like indirectly,
I just see it always, reposts on fucking Instagram, whatever. And
totally.
And every time I hear it, I'm like, yeah, this is why I'm not on TikTok. That and it's just information warfare from China, but people want their 30-second meme dances.
Wait, they're 30 seconds? I thought they were even shorter than that. I thought it was like 10 seconds. Like it was basically just like rapid fire media.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. I mean, it still sounds like a nightmare to me.
Oh, it's a nightmare. The culture it creates is, I was just watching like one of the influencers today who like, there's the trend of like annoying people with interviews kind of, whether like famous people or just rando people.
Yeah.
And that whole thing, it's like someone was like interviewing one of the Island Boys and it's just, you don't feel good watching it and it just feels wrong all around. So
I mean, I feel like that's
progress.
I feel like that's my description of TikTok were I to ever sit down and watch it. It just doesn't feel good.
Makes me feel bad.
You know what else makes me feel bad?
What's that?
Fucking NAMM.
So yeah, we talked about we've done this in the past, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
And full disclosure, we weren't there. None of us were there.
No, never gone to NAMM.
I astral projected there for a bit, but
so you have the inside track. Did anybody see you? Did they see your ghostly form?
Yeah, Richard Devine like walked right through me. It was amazing.
He has a mixer that captured your essence, doesn't he? Spectral mixer.
He tuned into my frequency. And then granulated it.
Put it past him. He's got those betas.
Sampled it. You can get the pack next week.
Well, because I have my good and bad and the ugly list for NAMM.
No, I do too.
And I'm gonna full disclosure. One of the bad is just NAMM in general.
Oh yeah.
No, that's getting meta.
It's meta as shit. That's my TikTok. Is just me saying NAMM is shit.
I mean, not many people are like dropping shit there anymore.
No.
That's not the place for it. It's becoming what it was. I feel, And
I started watching just synth stuff, and then I branched out and was like, let me look at like guitar shit and other instruments. It seemed like across the board, really just like unremarkable stuff, garbage, just a lot of actual fucking garbage, and even the presentation for a lot of stuff, like there's just like unopened crates behind people. Like it didn't seem like it was an inviting place to go.
Now it's interesting.
Yeah, it definitely came off as one of the like lamest ones that I've ever paid attention to. I remember thinking multiple times that it felt like I was just watching like live stream from a Guitar Center.
Oh my God, that is exactly it. Yeah, no, that is
right? Like, okay, glad I'm not off track.
That is really
like,
that is really
kept
on point.
giving me that vibe like multiple times.
I just like the idea that like it just took place in an active warehouse that was actually like dangerous for people to be around, and they were getting hit with like fucking trucks and stuff.
Forklift
dollies
coming through.
You just hear Teamsters screaming in the background. Get the fuck out of the way!
Get the fuck out of there! But it's the flanger pedal. I've got a whole set of them. I noticed in the pedal land, it was like, let's put out 12 of every fucking pedal that already exists, but in a slightly different color scheme.
Yep.
Like, Jesus, that's where we're at, huh? Like the Euro-racked pedals.
It's just Pokemon cards at this point.
Yeah.
You just got to catch them all. Complete your color spectrum of pedals.
Right, so we're already going down a path. Let's. I'm gonna say let's rewind.
Start with the bad, or back up the truck and.
It's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
So let's start with the good.
It's gonna be quick.
Okay.
My list is not very long.
Me either. I did like 2 for each category at most.
I did 2 for good.
So I'll start with the good. My top good is the ModBap Meridian.
Okay.
It's a from ModBap, stereo multi-mode filter. The left and right sides can be set to independent. There's options for ladder, OTA, comb, and formant forms.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
okay. That's cool. So it's digital, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and each side can have their own settings for that. There is a
it's new.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that list. It was like this is a cool list. It's a novel list. They each have their own frequencies and resonance, and then there's this main sort of frequency that they both share. So you can sort of have like them set and then control the mid, and sort of main one. They'll deviate accordingly. And there's a couple of effects on each filter, which makes sense. There's a drive with crush on it, and then phaser. And the whole thing, can be stereo. One of the things that was like kind of popping out to me was like, this seems like an interesting update to like Polaris.
I was just gonna say, it kind of reminds me of Polaris a little bit.
Yeah, that was the thing and like even the sound demos that I saw, I ended up seeing a couple of demos with the guy from ModBap talking about it and doing like a little bit of sound demos. I was getting that sort of like vibe of it. I was like, oh, this is really like, I've never really replaced my Polaris with something like that, and I was and it caught my attention. The only bummer is it is $450, which is like, I guess we've talked about
stereo. That's not too bad for stereo.
I mean, that's going to be like a recurring theme, I think, is I wish everything was cheaper. But yeah, that was my top good. I really was pleasantly surprised that someone did something interesting and it piqued my interest with a filter.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool to see Modbap doing good shit too.
Absolutely.
Modbap rules. Yeah.
Absolutely. So who's next? That was my top good.
Let me go.
Yeah, go for it.
I got two goods, and I had to watch some videos to kind of get there. One of them's kind of a lukewarm good. I think it's in a good direction, and that would be the Bastel Bestie mixer, which I saw and like it is close to the portable mixer we've always wanted, with some exceptions. Thought the feedback channel was cool, nice idea. Seems like they focused on quality, making it like portable, kind of close to the mixer we all wanted, stereo and mono flexibility. Still no like type of send situation. You'd have to like rig a send up manually or do it that way. And no EQ. EQ I could live without, but like some type of aux send situation would have been really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're getting closer to someone making the mixer that seems like it's almost obvious that it should exist.
And it's USB powered? Or is it battery powered?
I believe it's both, actually. I think it's USB or battery powered.
Because they had that one really, really tiny battery powered mixer.
The dude.
Yep. And I got one a long time ago.
Oh, you did?
The problem was they went too small, and it was all those tiny little pots, and the battery didn't last that long, and I was like, I really wanted to like it. This seemed like it addressed both those issues by having it being USB if you wanted to run it for a little bit longer, and widening the form factor. It's not big, but it's at least a lot more usable.
Yeah. So that seemed cool.
Yeah.
I didn't catch the NAMM like footage of it, but I did see the like trailer demo, if you will, YouTube video like a week ago. Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to use it as like a main performance mixer, but I would definitely like it as like an effect mixer, kind of like I've used Mackeys in the past. Because the Mackeys I used to use to just drive things and feedback patch them. This is like a super lightweight version of that you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know if I could cross patch the channels like I could with the Mackie, and like you said, there's no aux send, but I was usually using the tape send and the aux send and things like that to do feedback anyways. This has a dedicated knob and channel for that already, which is kind of cool.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was thinking more along the lines of a live mixer, because really I've done all of the work in each of the individual components. I really just want to get the gains, having control over the gains and mix them. Like I use for live performance mixers very simply. All of the like weird mixer tricks, they're already baked in by the time I'm done. This is really just I just want a simple mixer, and I think like it really could fit the bill for that.
Yeah, when you just need to like sum a bunch of channels to an output and have some control over that, seems like it fits the bill. And it seems like they stated like, we focused like on making it sound a little better than the dude, which was cool, just to see like some higher quality thing like that. And my second one was the 4 millisecond sampler.
That's a DIY. It's a DIY kit now.
It's both. It's a DIY kit, or you can get a built production module. So it's basically they did that and the delay, which are just half of the existing ones. Even though it's still stereo, it's not quite as complicated as the existing, STS stereos triggered sampler or something like that. DIY friendly, like $195 for the kit, and it's got like 1 millisecond latency on the sampler response to trigger, and good quality. So I thought like that's like a solid offering, because you can't get a lot of other things at that price that will sample. You can get some sample playback stuff like Tip Top One and other stuff like that, but nothing quite like that. So I thought that was a cool offering.
I think I saw that they said that it was as far as the DIY kit, it's all through a hole.
Yeah,
there's a couple of SMD parts, but they've already put that on, so you don't have to do any of the SMD or like really tiny pain in the ass soldering. So as a kit, it even seems like it would be like a fun afternoon project.
Yeah. So if I didn't, I got a squid sample back and really fucking love it. I'm so glad I have one back again. But if I didn't have that, I would probably build one of those.
What is the price of the mixer? I forgot.
Which the Bastel?
The Bastel, yeah.
Greg, we've moved the fuck on.
I'm still thinking about it
because
because
in the dust, man.
Good question.
Because
it's a very good question.
It appealed to me when I saw the video, and I kind of forgot all about it until just now.
Damn, $198.
Yeah,
that's fucking good.
Yeah, that's only a little bit more than the 4-channel Yamaha one that I just bought, and I use it the same way I would use that Bastel one, but half the size, or maybe even less.
Still more than you can get an old Mackie for, but
yeah, true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because every time I say that, it's like Mackie's already, or Yamaha, or like the little Soundcraft shits that already kind of exist, you know.
Well, but the thing is, like travel. I mean,
the Mackie weighs like 30 pounds.
Yeah.
And it's big. Having something that small is probably worth the extra money.
Totally.
Also, the Mackies have tripled in price over the last 2 years.
Right.
I used to get them for $50, and now they're at $150 everywhere. Like that's base for the old 1202s and shit. Like. So, and the reason why I was thinking about it is because it kind of tied into one of the things that was on my good list that I was thinking about for like,
it's a segue.
Performance. Yeah. But again, like I was envisioning the mixer not necessarily as like the main performance mixer, but as like an effect mixer.
Yeah.
Polyend Tracker Mini caught my eye. Mm-hmm. And I was envisioning having like a live setup that consisted mainly of like 2 of those going into like something like the Bastel mixer to add distortion and feedback, and that could be like my main drums, so to speak, and then have something to handle like probably like a small modular case to handle other shit around that.
I forget if it was Null Sleep or Bit Shifter. They have their live setup is 2 of those Mate M8 trackers and a mixer in between it, and they do full fucking sets with it.
I could see you getting a lot of mileage out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Originally, when I bought the first Polyend tracker, I kind of wanted that to replace my Pioneer Taraz SP16, but the lack of stereo functionality kind of killed that for me.
Yeah.
The Tracker Mini, however, brings in stereo, which is like the big appeal to me. And it has some other changes I jotted down here.
Well, there's the battery, I think, is a big one too.
The battery's cool. Yeah.
I have a weird hang up right now because I've got an ion lithium battery in my Deluge.
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while, like Instagram will give me like I'm scrolling through and it will like, here's somebody blowing up an ion lithium battery. And I'm like, oh, that's right. These are incredibly fucking like explosive and volatile. So like I'm a little freaked out about having one in my house, but then I'm like, the convenience of it really outweighs my paranoia about it.
I thought you were going to go into like cobalt mining.
Oh, that is a real thing, but literally everything in my house, there's probably something I'm really against that contributed to its manufacturing. So, no, but thank you. I'll start thinking about that as well too.
But yeah, like I know I'm probably falling into the Polyend marketing hype once again, but I did really want to like the original tracker, and I did for a minute, and like the stereo and the lack of memory was like the main thing that was keeping it from being like my go-to computerless DAW, you know. Yeah. But according to them, the Tracker Mini promises better CPU power, more memory, better clock stability, and lower latency. It's battery powered. It has an onboard microphone for sampling on the fly, and full stereo capability for every track. They got rid of the jog wheel, and they got rid of the Monome style pad grid sequencer, which I think is a little weird.
Yeah,
I was using that a lot.
That was one of my favorite parts when I had one.
Yeah,
I was like, ooh.
I still have my Polyend tracker, and I can't imagine using it without those pads.
Yeah,
the jog wheel, I think it's weird what they've replaced it with. But
the little Nintendo style D-pad.
Well, I thought the Nintendo style D-pad was for the arrow keys that are on the original tracker.
Right, but you'll have to use that to do everything that you could do quickly with the grid. You know what I mean? Like I used to hit like 8-step or 16-step.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna have to like, I guess, scroll or shift.
I don't know.
The buttons on the right, I think, increment and decrement because there's like a shift to make it faster or something. I saw that and was like,
okay,
I don't know if that's an improvement.
Yeah, I can live with holding shift, I guess, and punching buttons, but if you have to start remembering like button combos and shit, that's going to be annoying.
I'm sure they didn't make it too shitty. He says very optimistically. Like
I'm kind of optimistic for it. And pre-orders are already open. They're at $6.99, which I think is what the price was for the original tracker.
Yeah.
And it comes with a case, which the other one did not, which is nice.
I got a little dust cover for mine.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it addresses your specific complaints with it, so
Yeah.
I can see why you're like into it.
It's kind of like, it's not my dream version of tracker, but I definitely feel like my complaints have been heard, over the last couple of years to some extent. I didn't pre-order it. I'm gonna wait to see like how it unfolds, how it releases.
Good call.
Because I remember, with the original, by the time I got mine, I think there was already like multiple firmware updates and changes. So yeah, I'm just gonna let it ride for. You don't want
to be the first person to get Windows 95.
No.
That's what you're saying.
The thing couldn't sync to clock for shit. I remember when I got it initially, the tracker, and I was like, "Ooh, that's a bad sign."
I had to use mine as like master a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my number one good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of like half good or lukewarm goods, but
yeah, I don't think there was anything mind blowing at all for any of us.
No, yeah,
we had to like cherry pick to find some good stuff.
That is very true. That's a good point. But the one that was good, and having never had this thing, this update seemed like a really good, like substantial update. And that's the Hydrosynth update 2.0.
Right.
It added a lot of stuff that I was like, I'm surprised that wasn't already in.
What did it add? I didn't really.
So it's three new banks of memory, which is whatever, but it's per voice modulation inside the engine, and the LFOs and envelopes can be quantized, which I was like surprised that wasn't already a thing.
I thought you could clock sync the LFOs before.
This was added to this update. So again, having never had one, I was surprised that wasn't already. I would have assumed that was already in the Hydrosynth, and the fact that they mentioned this as a update. And there's they added basically, there's a lot of words, and then at the end he was like, we basically added slop for each, which as someone, I've used that in other synthesizer. I mean,
added what?
Slop? Like oscillator slop?
Yeah, oscillator detune kind of. Which on
like drift?
I'll say on the sequential and Oberheim shit, that feature is amazing. On the OB6, like I wouldn't even use it without that turned on.
Yeah, even the Evolver, I use slop all the time. This is one of those things where I'm like, ooh, that actually makes this a little bit more interesting. And there's now a step LFO, and as it gets either notes or gates, it advances to the next phase of the LFO. So yeah, this was I'm chalking this up to good, mainly because it seemed like this is stuff I was surprised wasn't already part of the Hydrosynth. I'm still not tempted, but every time I hear one, I'm always like, that has potential.
I've been very tempted to get one back.
I don't miss mine.
No,
really?
Yeah, not really. I never liked to patch it. Really, I just didn't dig it too much.
There hasn't been much that I regret selling over the last couple of years, but lately I've been really wanting a tracker again and a Hydrosynth.
Yeah.
Like those two things keep popping back in my brain. It's just kind of like they would fit well with how I'm working right now.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, I need to get these back. So I'm glad to hear that they updated it. I totally missed that.
Yeah. The Hydro just like made me get into my Access Virus again, basically, because I was like, ooh, the filters on here are beautiful.
Yeah.
And then Hydrosynth was like, I don't know, something about it like just didn't move me. What were you gonna say?
I'm actually really curious to hear that because, again, having never had one, but seeing like videos of it, that holds a lot of weight because I only saw these sort of like hype videos of it, and a lot of the videos were like, for lack of a better term, sort of like dubsteppy sounds or big room house sounds or like these things, and I'm like, okay, I've got to believe this can do something more than that.
Oh, it's deep. It's deep and weird.
And that was the thing that was like really appealing to me, but I'd never had. There's no that video that I can go like, oh, there it is. There's somebody doing the thing that I want.
It always felt to me like if you just built a synth around a piston Honda.
Right.
Which is awesome. You know?
Yeah.
That's why I liked it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But at the same time, I had a piston Honda.
Yeah.
So I sold the nitrogen, because I was focusing more on modular at the time. But
I'll say the Explorer, the really cheap one, that's a hell of a fucking deal for like a polysynth, because it's like $500 or $600 for that thing.
Yeah.
And plastic little keyboard, but whatever. Like that's a good deal on a synth, I think.
Nice. I only have one other thing in my even remotely good area of things.
3 things.
3. Fuck.
You were digging deep in that crate.
Did dig deep.
You know what? I'm a fucking professional. That's not really true. I only started doing this weekend when it was like, oh shit, we should do something about NAMM. I'm like, I haven't been paying a bit of attention.
Yeah, I was doing this on the couch last night and Steph's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm just looking at old NAMM videos because I got to fucking do a podcast tomorrow. They were like, oh, okay.
I'm doing my due diligence as a professional synth tuber.
I pretty much
do not interrupt.
I gotta do a good job.
We'll let them know you are doing a good job. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
But the other one I have, and it's the Nectar Anuba.
The fuck is this?
They made those like keyboards, right? Nectar, Nektar,
Nekt. Yes.
Yeah, they made some shit. What is this?
So this thing is very weird, and I'm rounding it up to good because it seems like it might be. It's like their first line is, this is integrated with Ableton, and I was like, oh, so you made a push, and they're like, well, it's kind of like push, but it's also kind of like a machine. So it's got like performance pads that like the push kind of didn't have. So I'm like, this is 1,000,000% nothing for me at all. Like I couldn't give a shit about this, but I can see a lot of people being excited about actually being able to like have one controller that does all the stuff that push does, but then also, what are you cracking up at?
I'm thinking about my Ugly already. Sorry.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just reminding me of my Ugly.
Oh shit! Is it that Donner?
Fuck.
That's
That's
my
also
bad.
that's also.
Hell yeah! I can't wait to shit on that thing.
Oh,
I'm glad you guys.
I'm glad we're all on
found
the
that
same
too.
page.
Right.
Yeah,
He knew it.
yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's what I'm laughing about, though. It's nothing else.
Yes. So I'm so glad that we all found that Donner.
Yeah.
Like,
I want to wipe my ass with that thing.
there's so much to unpack on that. But the Nectar, I feel, is there's going to be people out there that like this is going to be the thing that they can sit there with a laptop and basically make all the music that they want. So I'm rounding it up to good with no intention of ever actually getting one myself. So. And now I'm done with my good.
Yeah. So.
Well, there's good now. So it's the good, the bad.
The bad. I have the Donner as the top.
So you
guys have it in the ugly?
Yeah.
Oh my
What
god,
about
how
you?
is it not in the ugly?
It's so
I have
fucking ugly.
My first note here is I feel like this thing could definitely qualify in the ugly category as well. It is no beauty queen, that's for sure. But it was so bad that I felt like I had to put it in the bad as well.
It's like Beat Kang level.
Oh,
What's
God.
what Beat King? Did I say it wrong? Yeah. I don't remember. It looks like that, like 90s fever dream in AutoCAD that somebody like put together, and it's like, that's not the Star Trek future we thought.
Yeah. So the full name is the Donner D1 drum machine, right? This is what we're all talking about. Yeah. Just making sure. Yeah, it was ugly as fuck.
It just looks like it has bad timing.
It's just,
you know?
It really does. It's like, oh, you want to MIDI sync this thing? Yeah, right.
Well,
luck.
We could, but we spent so much time making all of these RGB lights under each pad do a little dance for you.
Oh my god.
Even the lights looked like the prototype for like a fucking MIDI controller from 10 years ago.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
It's like that silver, like almost like a Korg prophecy, where it's like this like vision of the future from the early 90s.
So yeah, I guess this is in the bad. Should I
go for it. No, you put it in the bad. We're on the bad.
I gave some notes about what it's supposed to be. It's a 12-channel basic bitch drum machine.
Wait, that's not a direct quote. They did not actually say that in the.
That's my direct quote.
Okay, gotcha.
And then my next notes, as I was watching the video, I jotted down, I can't wrap my head around why this thing exists. With component shortages and such, I feel like this thing is just a waste of precious materials and should be recycled.
I feel that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's advertised as being shipped, and this is their big selling point. It comes shipped with factory content from Loop Masters.
Ooh, can't get that.
Wow. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Loop Masters. They said there's an auxiliary input, and then they never explained why.
No.
The dude that was interviewing him asked if you could sample into the machine using it, and he just stared at him for like a full 30 seconds. And then said,
we never thought
yes.
of that.
So I think that's a no.
That's a no.
Probably
Yeah.
no.
He said,
Because there's no input on it to sample, and I saw the aux in. I was like, that must be how you sample.
I guess, yeah.
But why would you need to? You've got Loop Master.
That's true.
Yeah, you've got the
Preloaded.
best
What
content
else could you
can
ask
get.
for? And then he said that half of the functions don't work currently, but he's hoping to be ready to ship by the end of May.
Yeah.
No, you won't.
No,
No.
there's no way.
It's like 3 spins from now, dude. Good luck.
Yeah. It was incredibly cheap though. Like
It was like $300, I think.
Oh no, I thought it was like two
or
something.
maybe I thought it was like $299-ish or something.
I thought
it might even been cheaper.
Well, they make the 303 clone too, and that's like $100 303 clone, and it's similar to a fucking weird looking box, which actually some people seem to enjoy.
Yeah.
But this is not a sampler. You
No,
know, that's
no.
a whole other realm of things that aren't going to work ever.
Because I watched there was a couple of different videos of it. So there was like the Sonic State interview with them, and there's a couple other ones. And like after I saw the first one, I was like, well, this was just a bad interview. Maybe like they didn't interview well, and I ended up there were like 3 different ones. They were all equally uninformative, equally awkward and weird. At no point did I hear. Did you hear it actually going?
No,
No.
I don't
They
think
never
ever once
played it?
Played it. No.
They never once played it, which to me is like a huge fucking red flag for something that's going to go out in a month. You should play that shit at least once.
They won't have that working at next NAMM.
Oof.
Yeah, it was a big oof.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier on, my top bad was just NAMM in general. My first bad is from Endorphins.
Damn it. That's pulled my card.
Do we all?
I did not. I
Oh.
For once, I was like, you know what? This isn't even worth bitching about. I feel like we shredded the ghost enough that I was like, Dave or Nick is probably going to bring this up. I'm not going to put it on my list because I don't want to feel like I'm bashing Endorphins all the time single-handedly. So I'm glad that you guys put it on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot to discuss here. It's Ghost in a pedal.
Yeah. That's what my comment is, just Endorphins pedals. That's like all you need to know. They're going to sound great. They're going to fucking...
Sure.
That's another one too where it's like, you should give those components back to the company.
You should give them back to
else.
the community, just globally.
Please.
Yes. Honestly, I don't have a lot of notes. I ended up watching a couple of videos on it. It seemed like the hot mess that was the module is even worse now when you try to
confusing.
you try to translate that now into a pedal, which is now self-contained. You don't have these auxiliary things that like feed into it, and it's a pedal now, so it's intended to be used with guitars and other things, and like this, it's not part of a synthesizer ecosystem. It feels like just a hot mess, like huge miss, like colossal miss. And there was another pedal.
They look like shit too.
Oh,
The
they look
Golden
terrible.
Master.
That was it.
Yeah.
And I
There's not enough compression pedals out there.
Yeah, because you
The Golden Master that everyone reported like the worst noise floor ever for the first I think year or two of the module coming out, but maybe that's all ironed out now.
Yeah, like left and right channels with different levels and shit like that. It seems like a mess.
So that was my top bad. I don't have to go through all my bad right away. A couple other things on here.
It was all my bad. My bad and my ugly are tapped out. And I will say I could have moved the Endorphins pedals to ugly as well because they look
like shit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It just looks weird.
It's just a white box.
Like, just as quickly as you could
no
do it.
aesthetic to it at all. Yeah.
We got these boxes. Put them on there.
Like scratch off letters. It was really very, very shoddily.
It's just confusing.
I could go to my second bad.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
I don't even I don't even want to shit on this thing too bad because the dude that was doing the video was like, clearly he's into this. Like, this is his dream that he built. He was super excited to show it off. But the Robco wind synthesizer R1.
So I have that in my ugly.
Okay, I can definitely see that.
So I also was very like taken by how excited this person was about this goofy
so
thing.
Excited. If you ever wanted to control your synths by blowing and slobbering into a giant black tube with RGB lights, your prayers have been answered.
Yeah,
sounds kind of tight.
The presenter said it's been proven by a number of artists that it can be played really well.
Well, it has its own sound bank on board too. So it's not just a MIDI controller. Like there's actual sounds on it too.
And the interviewer kept trying to ask him about that, and he just didn't want to talk about it.
It was so weird. I'm like, are you gonna play anything? Because he had it hooked up to like.
He just kept focusing on like the MIDI aspect of it. Yeah. The design is very human.
Many artists have learned it.
Dude, yeah. The Sonic State guy that was doing the interview was like having a blast interviewing him, and you could hear him struggling not to crack up like multiple times. And like it's like he just kept asking more questions because like he was clearly getting a kick out of this and the dude's like excitement. But yeah, that was not for me.
I mean, it's funny because I know that there are over the years have been these sort of like other MIDI instruments to take on traditional instrument forms.
Sure.
There have been others of these wind instruments and things that look like saxophones and flutes and guitar forms and all of this. I've never understood any of them because I can't imagine these sort of cheap plastic toys mimicking the feel of an actual brass or wind instrument.
Sure.
They just seem like such a
I
dumb
used to play
gimmick.
wind instruments, like I can't envision that either.
Yeah, and like there's no reed, there's
Right.
no physical feedback. You're blowing into plastic, and somewhere else a sound is coming out.
You may not know that I have a Yamaha DH1 digital saxophone
Do you really?
that I've had since 92 or 3 or something like that.
I did not know that.
So it's got, in place of the reed, there's a little rubber mouthpiece thing on it that's attached with this clip, which I broke when I was probably 2 months into having the thing and was never able to fix. But yeah, it was not what you'd call a playable instrument. There are hacks where you can make like the filter resonant or something like that and like change it because there's like analog circuitry to it.
So you can bend it.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, if I have time to do that, then like I must have accomplished a lot of things in my life. But yeah, I do have one of those, and no, you wouldn't call it an instrument, really. That's why those things never caught on.
And you said you had it since, what, 92?
Yeah. I mean, I shouldn't say they never caught on. Those EWI wind instruments are
yeah.
used in a lot of jazz, both decent and questionable.
This did not look like something that was made for a jazz band, though.
No.
Right.
Like, it had these giant RGB lights down the side. Like, I have no idea who this is being, like,
And the buttons themselves were just big circles on a flat
it's just a
board.
big black tube.
It's a big black tube, and it's got circles cut out, and you press on the circles.
Yeah.
Everything about it was like, this is like
It looks
anti-pattern.
It looks like a prop from like a budget sci-fi show.
Yes. What was the Size Noodles and the Max Rebo band from the Cantina?
Yeah.
They would be like, oh my god, this doesn't make sense.
If you make something like that and Robert Rich isn't going to play it, you fucked up. Because that's the only person that's going to do anything with it.
So that was it for my bad.
The only other thing I have on my bad is the 1 volt per octave module called the Center.
Oh, okay.
And I put it under the bad because it seemed like a really good idea. And it seemed like you're familiar with the concept of scope creep, where you come up with an idea and then you're like, well, let's tag this on, tag this on, and tag this on, until what you started with was a good idea. And by the time you're done is a monster. This module is like 30 HP, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
It looks huge. It's got a tiny little screen in the middle, and it seems like everything. I'm like, why are you not just using a computer at this point?
Yeah.
I didn't put it on my list in any category because I could not figure out what it was.
Because it's everything.
It's
everything
like
and nothing.
At first I thought it was a sequencer. And then I was like, no, wait, this is like a modulation / like envelope.
Keep
generator.
going.
And then I was
Keep
like,
going.
wait, no, like I literally couldn't figure out what the
Does
fuck
it
it's
load
supposed to be.
VSTs? That was what I couldn't figure out.
Oh, I didn't get that. I didn't.
That's what I thought eventually. I was like, oh, is
Yeah.
this supposed to be like a wrapper for... I gave up and I just moved on.
There's oscillators. There's voices. There's literally everything. it looks like they just kind of like went out of control and made a fully functioning synthesizer that you control through parameter value knobs and a very, very tiny screen.
Because that's so much fun.
And he's like going on and on about like, this is the only thing you'll ever need, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's one way to put it. The other way to put it is, this is the world's shittiest computer. Like this is, I don't want to work like this at all.
Right.
Yeah.
My laptop is also the only thing I would ever need.
Exactly.
If I wanted to fucking do that, which I don't.
Right.
But what if instead of a mouse and keyboard and a big screen, we replaced all of those with 2 knobs and a tiny 1-inch screen?
And this black tube with holes in it that you can slobber into. Now we're fucking talking.
It's all you need.
Collabo is imminent.
Yeah, so I put that in my bag because I really think that's I don't see anyone getting any kind of use out of that.
Before we dip into the ugly, I forgot my second good.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Gear shifting back to good.
I did. I skipped it. My bad. And this is kind of a weird one for me because it's like nothing mind-blowing, but I could see me getting a lot of use out of this. The Verbose real-world interface.
I saw
cool.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, it's a sound input interface / preamp for external sounds with multiple envelope followers, which I love my envelope followers.
Yeah.
But beyond just envelope followers, like I've tried to use envelope followers to do like pitch tracking type shit through quantizers.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like Verbose kind of, I guess, must think in a similar way because he has a onboard frequency detector / phase lock loop pitch tracking oscillator that can follow along with your input, which also has a fundamental output, gate extractors, and an extreme compressor circuit.
Oh, that's cool.
Didn't seem like it was a huge module. It seemed like a tidy one.
Yeah, it's pretty compact, I guess, for all that it can do.
Mm-hmm.
None of their stuff is really small-ish, but yeah, it appeals to me, especially when it comes to like bringing external shit into, processing, which I do a lot these days, and feedback patching, which I love. I love controlling feedback with my percussion and drums using like envelope followers from like certain percussive elements. I could see this being like great in that regard.
I have one on the Crystallizer. It has EQ on it, envelope follower, gate, trigger.
Yeah.
It has gain, which goes into really crunchy stuff. External. I use the shit out of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of cool stuff you can get out of having that functionality to it. But the thing about the Crystallizer, though, is it goes from clean to dirty in a heartbeat. Like, it's really not meant to be clean. And the Verbose seems like they had the opposite perspective on it. Like it seemed like you gotta go pretty high up before you start hitting like overdrive on the input.
Yeah, I think that's where the compressor kind of comes into. Like I think like he described it as extreme. Like so I guess you can get things in there clean, but then also probably compress it into annihilation if you want, which appeals to me.
Schwayman has a similar module, the Audio Processor 1 or AP1.
Yeah,
Kinda
I've always wanted it.
Yeah.
I just never wanted to pay that price.
Yeah, you can still, it's the only thing that's ever in stock at Big City Music, Schwayman-wise. You can get them, but they're like $900. And it's like for a compressor, an envelope follower. And
I've always wanted one, man.
Yeah,
yeah.
It looks cool.
But the thing about Verbose, though, they're also never cheap. So was there a price tag on this?
He did not give a price.
So that would be the other thing I'd be a little worried about. It's probably going to be pretty fucking expensive.
I bet it's at least $500.
Yeah, because all of Verbose shit is really well made. That's not a critique of their quality.
No.
But literally everything is fucking expensive from them.
Yeah,
like,
he
way
said
more than
aims
you
to
want.
ship in midsummer, but yeah, no price when asked.
I bet there was, if you have to ask, it's too much type of
Probably.
vibe. Yeah.
I'd love some Verbose stuff, but similar. I just never quite took the leap.
I played with some of it at KnobCon before, and it really does sound, a lot of the stuff that I played with sounded really fucking nice, but then it was like, I can't, even just like 1 or 2 modules was going to be super fucking expensive.
It seems like one of those things too, like if you're going to go in a little, you probably want like at least a row of the same shit to like build it out.
That's kind of what has always happened anytime I've toyed with the idea of getting stuff. Like originally I wanted the multi-delay, multi-tap
looks
delay.
rad.
And but then when I started thinking about it, like by the end of the day, I had like a rack of their shit
Yeah.
laid out to go around and accommodate the delay inside, modular grid. And I was like,
Because I'd want the harmonic oscillator, the amp and tone, and the fucking bark filter.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of would want them all.
Amp and tone has always been on my list too. And yeah, so the only thing by them that I have right now is the, shit, I don't remember what it's called, but it's super tiny. It's
that noise.
Yeah, the filtered noise.
Filtered noise.
I love that thing. Like, it's so practical. But yeah, that was my second good one.
I can see you getting a fuck ton of use out of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my eye on it.
Yeah. Are you done with your good finally?
Yes, sir.
We don't have to backtrack?
No more backtracking.
No more good?
All
good is done.
forward.
We are done
Full
with
speed
good.
ahead.
Does anybody have any more in the bad category?
No, I'm tapped.
Are we going? We're going into ugly.
Going into ugly.
Greg, would you like to start? Oh, your list is tapped.
Yeah, because I just have Don or D1 into the ugly. I don't think we need to go there again.
I mean, we could. There's probably more to talk about. But
I just rambled on about the Verbo stuff. You
right,
can kick off the ugly.
Go for it.
Let me see what I got in the ugly. Oh yeah, the Eon 1 Netherblade.
Didn't see this.
What?
Oh,
Sounds epic.
Netherblade.
my first note is literally just Jesus fucking Christ. It is a keyboard, keytar, touchscreen.
I'm sold.
It's probably like 2 or 3 feet long, touchscreen, and like cell phone
Is it
width.
in the shape of a sword?
It's kind of in the shape of a keytar because it seems to have some sort of weird like handle at the top.
Fuck this.
Oh wow.
That is a touchscreen,
Nice.
and the guy is
That's some good tactile feedback there.
It's a MIDI controller, but it has its own onboard. It basically runs a VST, like plugins, VSTi plugins. And yeah, you jam out on this thing. I assume there's a high quality strap you can put around you for performance reasons. But by the time you got to the end of it, I was actively getting a little angry. It was really like
This upsets me to look at it.
okay, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one who had that reaction.
I don't
to it.
like this at all.
Yeah.
Totally missed that one. I mean, he's wielding the nether blade, dude.
Yeah. I'm not trying to shit on his
He's going
good
full
time,
Highlander.
Yeah.
That thing
There can be only one.
Oh, maybe he's now the leader of the Mandalorians. Like,
Stylish, precise, fast, and fun to play. All of that seems untrue.
that was the first. Yeah, that was high on my list of
Good pick.
ugly.
The thing's ugly.
Jesus, yeah, I missed that.
My top ugly. And I'm sorry, Vlad, but the Soma Labs Terra.
Ah.
It's a touch-to-base synthesizer that is literally a giant slab of wood with some body contact points on it.
Yeah, see,
So we've
talked
talked
about this.
This has been an episode.
Have we?
Yes.
Yeah, because
I'm sorry for being brain dead.
No, I brought it up because I was interested in it first.
Mhm.
I need to actually make a retraction on my even lukewarm positivity that I had like 3 episodes about this.
You
Now
don't
that
want
you
like the
mention it,
general MIDI sounds?
Oh my god, it's so lackluster, and it's all digital.
Yeah.
It's all boring as shit, and the wood is just high goofy novelty.
I jotted down that it looks like a small legless coffee table with some body contacts and knobs plopped around on it randomly as an interface.
Oh my god.
And there's a gyroscope inside of it.
Mhm.
So if you feel so inclined to lift and fumble around your legless coffee table, you can achieve pitch bending.
That's never been a good idea
No.
for anything.
No. The gyroscope?
No, musically nobody's ever wanted to do that. Or
got
did
good
they when
results
they
out of
got
it.
it. Yeah, no. Fuck that.
And so
For something that cumbersome looking,
Yeah.
well, let me flop around my tree trunk.
So at one point, because I think maybe the body contacts threw me off because that's been a thing with like circuit bending is using
Yeah.
body contacts and using the human flesh as
It's
resistance.
big in all of Vlad's designs.
Yes, I really thought this was going to be more interesting. Like as you touch these two things, you're making a connection, and again with the wood and what seemed to be like a sort of nature vibe to it.
Organic, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm really a part of it. I'm like, oh wait, no, you're just clicking off a digital trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's it.
the demo was literally like putting me to sleep when
Yeah.
I watched it. I just couldn't get over how ridiculous it looked.
Absolutely.
I do remember you you mentioning the name Terra now, like I hear it in my head, but I had no fucking idea what it looked like until this NAMM video. So I totally forgot that that's what you were talking about.
Because it seemed like potentially more interesting than like some Seattle Lombard stuff where it's like, this is only an additive synth or something like that you could just make weird shit. Instead, like the one demo, it was like someone playing like a sax or a string patch. And I was like, what are we doing here, man?
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
So I don't know. Vlad got some hits, and I think this one might be a miss, but what do I know?
Yeah.
Maybe someone wants to play around with their coffee table.
The one thing I saw too, it looked like someone like cut a scene from like a psytrance party, you know, someone dressed up like playing the thing, and I was just like, this is not the way things should be going.
So I'm glad I made your list there, Greg.
Yeah. What else you got on your ugly eye?
So this is the last one.
Curious if it's the same as me.
My last one is the Muse Ovations.
What?
Beat Warp.
Missed that.
It's a train wreck. It's a 8-track MIDI synth sampler groove box. The main interface is a shift button and a tiny little screen. The sequencer is a 16-step sequencer that's controlled by 4 of these like gummy joysticks, where each of the cardinal directions on the joysticks corresponds to a note in the sequence.
Oh God, this looks weird.
Yeah. All of the joysticks and buttons and sliders are like this gummy material. Half the, like one of the videos I saw, half the video was him just showing like the manufacturing of all of these gummy parts and like going on about,
Is it like something out of Existence?
Well, not too far off.
Weird. Yeah, that's ugly.
Yeah.
And that definitely belongs in the ugly category.
That sequencer's blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, and there's those angled faders are just CC controls, so you can map those to any MIDI CC that you want to send. Apparently, as part of this, there's a digital synth component to this. It's all homebrewed from inside the company, like what the digital synth is.
Interesting.
That could be interesting if it's weird enough. But there's 2 things. One, it's originally going to be kicked off via a Kickstarter. And they're hoping, but not guaranteeing, they're hoping that is going to be under $1,000. Hoping.
Wow. Okay.
Hoping. There's a chance that that's going to be more than $1,000. Yeah. I was like, holy shit. It looks awful. And like in the lower left, there's a big joystick, also a big gummy joystick. That's how you do like track selection. Is you hit a shift button and you basically go through tracks by scrolling through a joystick, which is exactly how you want to do that, right?
Yeah. This is one of the weirder things I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I'm looking at the images on your phone. I'm like,
with this tiny ass little screen too. Like I want to spend all day looking at that tiny ass little screen to do everything.
That about sums up, I think, NAMM in a nutshell. Like that.
Yeah.
That kind of like unappealing, ugly mess. I feel like that again. Like I feel like in general that is a good like representation of this NAMM in general. Like just a lot of like uninnovative, half-baked ideas or just recycled ideas. Like nothing that really stood out or felt fresh. You know what I mean? Or exciting.
Everyone's holding off till Super Booth.
I guess.
Or at least modular people, it seems to be.
I think you beat me there. I thought my last one was going to be the ugliest, but
it's not a competition, Greg.
No,
I did win, but it's not a competition.
What's your last one?
I feel kind of bad shitting on this because it's like partially designed for kids, but not.
I know where you're going with this.
The Playtime Engineering Blipbox SK2.
Oh, they made another.
I made a note here that says a synthesizer designed for people into ABSL. Adult baby synthesizer lovers.
Oh my God.
Holy shit.
Said maybe someone out there is actually buying these things for their kids, and more power to them if they are. But holy shit, this thing is ugly. And he kept talking about how it's powerful enough for adults. But like, I don't know what adult is buying this or why.
So this is an upgrade from the previous one. They've already had another one of those, right?
Right. Which I thought was a joke last time. I guess not, because we're getting the sequel now.
Well, and I guess it's sold well enough that it warranted an upgrade.
I've seen videos of people jamming with their kids because it'll take MIDI clock.
Okay.
And it's like cool. Like I saw that and it seemed like fun for everybody involved. I'm like, tight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I kind of feel bad shitting on it because like getting kids into music is obviously a good thing, but yeah, I don't know. I just didn't like how it was like trying to tread the line between like adult synthesizer and kids synthesizer. Yeah.
Now imagining going to a show and someone there's like a full
Adults
band
in diapers playing on these things in a fucking playpen on stage.
No,
Yeah,
big
absolutely.
no.
I feel like we need to stop and apologize to our listeners. They did not have to hear that. That's too much. All right, so that was the end of our NAMM discussion. Sounds like other people have things on their lists. Nick, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I could start it off because I want to bid some fond farewells to some companies and some of their products that I've come across right as they were shutting down. First one, classic, KnobCon interactions, always with Paul Schreiber. But I was convinced to get a Synthtech E440 OTA discrete filter. And I will say for me, it is the best low-pass filter I've ever used.
Yeah.
And I don't think anything will ever come close to it.
I was always curious about that one and his delay.
It's fucking amazing. It's all sweet spots. It's corny, but that was kind of how he described it, and it is. I think it just always sounds pretty good. I love the resonance. I like the drive and how it adds distortion. You can crank it up and it will just sound kind of different and unique and never shitty. Fucking love this filter. It's definitely my go-to filter in every patch now. I have a bunch of filters and I like them all that I have, but this is the one that if I'm going for a low pass, I'm going to use it. I just think it sounds fucking perfect. It was to the point where if you could get the 5U version of the Motu 440 filter, I would build a single voice 5U system just to try that filter, but it's apparently like fucking unobtainium. You can't really get them. And I got one of the last ones. I got it at a really good deal too, because now they're already starting to go up to the like $500 range for like, a low pass 2, 3, and 4 pole filter.
Because he's done now. He's done.
He's
right?
done.
Yeah.
This the panel. Like I got the black panel from him, and he did forget because he went on vacation right before I ordered and like shipped it out a month later, and it somehow had to go from Texas to Seattle to get to Pittsburgh, but I did get it, and it's done. I think Synthtech is done. You can get 440s and I think 352s on the website right now that are already built that are just not paid for, but I think it's fucking incredible. I'm so glad I got it. I love that filter. The resonance sounds incredible. It's a Paul Schreiber and Dave Rossum collab.
Oh, okay.
Dave Rossum like kind of made the original chip or was part of that, so they made the discrete version together, and fucking love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's the shit. And yeah, that delay, I liked when I had his big effects processor, I forget, E355 or something like that. I would usually
the Kickstartered one.
Yeah, I would use the multi-sample delay on that a lot. And I liked it, and I wouldn't mind picking that module up sometime. But yeah, it's sad though, because like Paul shit, like that filter and getting it and seeing how good it was like, damn, I wish these were just always kind of in production. But they've been in production for a long time.
Yeah,
people have had their opportunities to get them.
I mean, I know he has no reason to, but it'd be rad if he went to KnobCon just to hang out and bullshit.
Yeah,
I would like to hang out and like bullshit with that guy one more time.
I was thinking this year, if we do go, that it would be sad to not see Paul, given that every time we've been at KnobCon, Paul has been there and we've had some interaction with him. Yeah, it's always hilarious.
It's been like a tradition for me to get insulted by him at least once.
Yes. Yeah. Whether you're there or not.
Yeah, even when I wasn't there the one year, he still had an insult for me.
He would insult us, but I think he always knew to some level that we weren't that we knew kind of what we were going for and like what we were talking
his balls
about.
And he was busting ours, yeah.
Absolutely. It was always fun.
He was a cool dude.
And then my second fond farewell, and this kills me more and more, is like the WMD, obviously gone now, but the WMD Subway, the interpolating scanner, maybe one of my favorite modules ever. So much so that I have a second one on the way right now. Fucking, it can melt any signal you send into it. Crossfade it perfectly.
Wait, for the listeners who may not know what that is, can you get an executive overview?
Yeah. interpolating scanner. So in this case, you've got 8 inputs and 1 output. And you can smoothly scan between any input you put into it, whether CV or audio. So you can take 3 LFOs that are completely different and kind of smoothly melt between them. The cool thing about this is each channel, there are 2 cool things about it. Each channel has a button next to it, and you can disable or enable those. And if you enable 3 of them, it will smoothly sweep through all the other options as though they were equidistant. A lot of scanners won't do that. There will be a gap, or there will be, if they're analog, there's something that's in the way there. This one doesn't. You can take arbitrary things, turn them on and off. It's a hell of a fun time to patch. It almost feels like cheating sometimes when I get like a really complex modulator out of it. I'm like, oh, this is like, I would have had to CV the shit out of this LFO to even get close and still not have gotten there. Other cool thing is like when you turn it on, 3 of the buttons, you can change the panning laws if you hold them when the system boots up. So you can do it equal power panning, like linear panning, or another type that I forget right now. And it's just like, it's fucking sad because it's like a brilliant idea. The moment I got it, I was like freaking the fuck out, patching it for hours. And like, wow, this is like, it just felt like I've always wanted this, how come I didn't have this functionality before? And I got a second one because there aren't too many of them left. And I will have one for CV and one for audio roughly. But then the thing I kind of learned is that I'd like to do like 3 CV, and then I would put like the localic into the 4th one.
Oh.
And you could just modulate something CV wise, but then it would poke into audio range. And that's one of those moments where it's like, oh yeah, this is all just fucking voltage at different frequencies. Like, I don't know. I immediately was getting good patches out of it because you can sequence it, and just pick like, I don't know. I fucking love interpolating scanners. There aren't many out there. There's like the Toprbio Mixiplexer. I think Erica might make one, but there aren't too many available, and I think it's fucking incredible. Like, I highly, highly recommend it to anybody if they can get one.
Kind of selling me on it.
I literally just sat here and looked to see if I could.
No, it's fucking amazing.
These recordings are like legit dangerous. Like how many times, like, do we know how many times, like when someone else is talking, the other people are sitting here like, there's one for sale here.
Grit filters happen directly because of this podcast.
And Paul is done. Is WMD done yet?
They're still like, they did another run of javelins. So like, I think they're still like petering some stuff out. There's such high demand that if they can make some stuff, I don't see why they wouldn't, but I think it's still done. But hopefully the designs live on to some extent, because there's nothing that actually behaves like that Subway. Not with the ability to take those channels out and still have it be like, remap it to be equidistant kind of. That's kind of wild. Yeah. It's a bummer.
It's because fucking Donner's using up all the components.
They are.
Fucking this isn't the universe we were promised. Like when the Large Hadron Collider split all of these universes up, we got the one where these companies went out of business and Donner rose from their ashes. Fuck.
Shit.
So we played God, and this is the result. So, Greg, did you have something on your list?
I have 2 things on my list. The one thing I just wanted to follow up, because I've gotten a few comments through YouTube, I guess, from my VanEck video that I posted a while back. A lot of people keep asking me like if I have any inside knowledge of when the VanEck X is coming out, which I talked about in the last episode. It's like, no, I do not. There seems to be like a weird cult forming around this module of like people that are being really fucking thirsty for it.
Right.
Yes. And
do you think they suspect you're secretly the person who makes them?
I am not. But I mean, I'm just as excited.
That's what you would say. That is what you would say. If
it is what I would say. Yeah, throw people off my scent. But nah, there's been no news except for the muff thread is still the main go-to, I guess, for information.
Yep.
He's still developing it. He posted some videos over the last couple weeks that are tantalizing. I'm as excited as anyone about this thing.
What's in these videos that is whetting everyone's appetite?
I mean, it's not that much different than the first.
Oh, okay.
It just sounds better, I guess you could say. There's definitely some more capabilities there when hitting it with modulation. But yeah, I'm stoked on it. And
people should continue to send you requests for information.
No.
Is that what you're getting at?
And we even had someone sending Nick requests to get information from me, which is mind blowing. Like all I know is what I said in the last episode. Like, there's been nothing new.
Right,
There's
right.
like no
There are
new
no
information.
secrets.
Yeah.
It's the website. There's the Muffs thread.
And there's also
That
Greg.
is it.
And there's also
Greg,
Greg.
who knows secret ways to get stuff that only a few people know.
I do want to give a shout out to our Patreon subscribers.
Hell yeah.
Because we've gotten a few new ones. Seem to be growing in that regard, which is nice. And the money that will be my portion of those proceeds is all going to the VanEck.
Nice.
So if y'all want to hear that thing, like and subscribe.
I haven't figured out what my portion's going to. I think it's going to be the I'm going to try to get some cases of the Iron City Turner's Tea collaboration drink. We talked about it before this, and for everyone who's not in Pittsburgh, Iron City is our local swill. It's a disgusting beer. And Turner's Iced Tea. They made a collaboration. It is I've had it a couple times, but it is immensely popular. So I'm gonna have to pay a premium to like.
You're just gonna invest in these and then not drink them, right? You're just gonna save them and collect them and eventually flip them, right?
Like a wine cellar.
Yeah.
Just put them downstairs, let them age. Like the Four Loko I had, like original formula Four Loko, like 10 years after they stopped making it. That was probably the last time I had like a full-on stomachache. That was really a poor decision. So I think this is going to go the same route.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a Iron City Turner heavy portfolio here soon.
Nice.
I will probably put mine towards the Flight of Harmony face hugger, which
I wanted to talk about that as well.
Yeah, it just lost. It did not get its funding in Kickstarter, but I was super stoked to see that Flight went ahead with production anyways, going ahead. And actually, I just got a message from the Kickstarter saying that they're preparing the invoices right now. Because I finally replied and said that, no, I don't want a split module in 2 4-channels. And that, I backed the built module. At first, I backed the DIY. And then I realized it's all surface mount. And the built was like $40 more. So I was like, I will pay $40 to not have to build this.
And we've talked about Kickstarter in the past. I think it's an overly bold way to try to do things. I understand why people go that route.
Yeah.
But because we now are many years into Kickstarter as a platform, and there are horror stories about people losing a lot of money, and a module is not cheap, even the facehugger, it's not an insubstantial amount of money. I don't think Flight of Harmony would just disappear with this money, but you sign off and say you accept the risk. You may never get the thing. I trust Flight will actually deliver on this, but I know a lot of people are really, really hesitant to back Kickstarters now, unless it's from a proven company, or it's a small investment. I'm willing to lose this money. I think a lot of people are like, well, it's a module. I'll wait till it's at a store and get it from a store.
Yeah.
I can see why it didn't fund.
In his panels, he did his style panel originally, and then he did the utility panel, which I got too. I would have gotten either. I didn't really care, but I kind of liked the utility panel more. But I think we had more trust because, we first bought our stuff from Flight in 2009 or something when he was doing Plague Bearer quads. And it was I had to think that was actually the first modular thing that I got before I got a Maths and a QMMG and a Dark Energy. Those were the first 3. And then before that, I got the Plague Bearer. So Flight's been around for a hot minute.
I may have one of the largest collection of quad Plague Bearers. I now have 2 in my possession for some reason.
It's a lot of plagues.
That's too many. It's not something I would recommend.
But I liked this module because it seemed very simple. There were no menus. I'll say something very unpopular right now, and that a lot of the mutable instrument stuff that can be configured to be different things are often modules that I don't like using, and one of them is stages. And I know that it's very simple on the surface, but I don't like when I have to remember how something works or how I can put it into a certain state. Mutable, I like plats and I like tides. Those are my favorite because I think they're very straightforward. And everything else that I've used, beads I now have my hand under, I have under control too. But stages, I just, is one of those things where I just don't like having to remember how to get it to do a thing.
Right.
the more I make my modular simpler and not full of stuff like that, the better it works out for me.
And I think Facehugger really is. It's everything's up front.
Yeah,
like it seemed like it might be a little bit bigger because of that, because you're not getting these sort of like, well, we're gonna handle this with light combinations. Like it's all surface. It's right there.
Looks like fun.
It does, yeah. And it's up there with like Ritual Electronics of like people that I feel like I'm on the same wavelength with.
Yeah.
All of the stuff, even if it's like that's a little wonky. Even when it's wonky, it's like, oh, that's still that gnarly sound that I'm looking for, or a gnarly idea.
Yeah, I think what they do comes from a genuine place too. It's not something like, oh, I wonder if this market will like this. And it's generally the other way where it's like, I hope some people buy this, but at
no point
their shit just pays off.
At no point did I ever feel like this was designed by committee or with marketing in mind.
Speaking of which, I kind of wish I had my choices because I just destroyed my planer last night.
Oh.
Do you know how I destroyed my planer?
No.
I took an output from one module in my system and put it into the output of one of the planer's outputs. And the module went dark and it won't turn on again.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Which is a bummer because those inputs and outputs on the planer are right beside each other.
Yeah, I've something must have failed, like a protection diode inside or something, because I know I've done that like a dozen times since I've had it. Because I just, sometimes that shit happens, Nor is there any warning that's like, warning, don't use this thing if you connect an out to an out. Most things can handle that, so I'm going to have to hit up IntelliGel.
I have in my basement a Choices kit that I've not put together. And it was only like a year ago I got it, and I may have got it from like SynthCube. So I know those
good
kits
purchase.
still. Yeah, it's
a good deal.
I had a Choices a long time ago, and I loved it.
I had 2 of them for a while. I was using it all the time when we were doing the 4-Pi stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I really liked, I don't know, controlling shit with joysticks during that time.
Yeah, I hadn't even used my planer in like actual years, but it was getting that Subway, and I'm like, oh, I've got another scanner too. Let me get the planer back out. It's just 4-channel scanner. It took me like 20 minutes later. It was fucking broken. I'm like, God damn. Which I have another buffered mult from IntelliGel that doesn't work either.
Oh, that's weird. I also have a buffered mult from IntelliGel that I need to replace.
Yeah, because I have a bunch of their 1U buffered malts, and those are just fine.
I've never had a problem.
Constantly use them.
So I replaced mine with the Mosaic buffered malts. Yeah. And this is too much discussion about buffered malts. In any case, all I'm saying is I'm probably not going to get the IntelliGel one now that this is in the air. This is in the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing that I had on my list to discuss was Skinny Puppy Tour and some gear spotting. So I did some homework.
So we need to clarify something because the Skinny Puppy Tour for everyone else, happened.
Everyone but Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so we had a bummer of a cancellation.
Super bummer.
I've got. The more I've thought about this, I've actually gotten more angry about it.
Same.
Not at the band.
I had a rough week.
And this is not at the band.
That show, I had like some rough times leading up to that show, and I was just kind of clinging to that puppy show as like this beacon of light in my life. Fuck. And then that ended up in great disappointment also. So I've just been like off kilter all week.
And I want to be clear, it's not at the band, it's not at Ogre for getting sick or hurt or whatever. This is entirely with the way the cancellation went down.
Yeah. The
more I think about it, the more I realize like, oh, they did absolutely everything they could to get every last dollar out of me.
Mm-hmm.
They knew that day. You were VIP, so you knew. You got the email at like noon, right?
I got the email at 1:00.
Yeah.
And bear in mind that VIPs had to be at the door at 2.
Yeah.
So we had 1 hour's heads up that Ogre would not be making it to the VIP session for quote unquote scheduling conflicts. And that if you wanted to refund it, you had to email an address at the bottom of their email, which I immediately did and have yet to get a response.
So that's the first clue that something was wrong.
Right.
And at this point, it would have been reasonable for them to at least let everyone know who wasn't VIP or cancel the show or basically take some action, which they did not do.
Also, bear in mind, the VIP was essentially sound check.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Like that's what the VIP was. You got in early. You had to be there at 2:00 to just be in the door. That was the requirement. And then sound check was going to take place at 3:00. Then you could do a photo op with them after sound check. and then you would have access to merch first, and you'd get like some swag bag stuff, like a poster and such. So at 1 o'clock, if they're notifying the people that paid $150 a pop that Ogre can't make it, that means Ogre's not going to be at sound check.
Yes.
Which is a big, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And all they would say is scheduling conflict. And it's like, how would he not have time to do sound check? It was really sussy.
Those of us who did not get the VIP, it was like 6 or so. The door was at 7. We basically there like a little before the doors, and the only inkling we have
standing in the freezing rain.
Yeah, it was another Pittsburgh spring.
Pittsburgh day.
Yeah. I love you, Pittsburgh, but your weather is you're rough. So we have no except for knowing you and you saying like, hey, the VIP was canceled. No other indication that something was a miss.
Yeah.
So we go in, and it's the Roxy Theater in Pittsburgh, which has been sort of repurposed as a venue, and it's a theater. I mean, it's a show space. So beer is not cheap. Things are not cheap. We go up though, but it's a night out, and then it's Skinny Puppy. It's fucking Skinny Puppy. This is for a lot of people the big thing, and all of the old Pittsburgh goths are coming out. People I haven't seen in over a decade. Everyone, this is the big thing. But at no point is there any indication that something is wrong.
Yep.
Everyone is buying expensive beers, buying expensive drinks with the expectation that this isn't what I would normally pay for this, but it's a special night. We're all drinking. Let Into Gold plays. They were fine. I actually really enjoyed their set. I know you want to talk about Let Into Gold more after this.
I'll get back to that.
Yeah, but again, with all things being equal, this was a great opener, great set. They end. Everyone goes to the bar because there's no indication at this point that something is wrong. Everyone goes to the bar, get another drink. It's like 20 minutes, maybe even a half an hour.
I think it was a good 30. Yeah.
People are probably
between
getting
bands.
Another drink on top of that, getting ready for this.
Or I shouldn't even say between bands. It was only Let Into Gold and Puppy.
Right.
So yeah, 30-minute gap after Let Into Gold finished.
So again, this is the part that gets me is no one would have hung out and bought these expensive drinks if they knew there was no Skinny Puppy at the end of this.
No.
We would have all fucking gone home.
Yeah.
Instead, we're paying $15 for an Angry Orchard cider as an example.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm like, then, and this is, okay, we can have a discussion about this. Somebody, who knows who the fuck this was, a roadie.
It was the guitarist.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
So the session guitarist comes out and, hey guys, sorry, Skinny Pup, we got to cancel. Everyone's real bummed. Like, he seemed genuine. He didn't want to deliver this bad news.
Everyone thought it was a joke because most people didn't know who the fuck they were.
Yeah, no one knows who this is. It's a session
Everyone
guitarist.
expected like, oh, okay, if Ogre's sick, surely Kevin will come out and tell us this, right?
Okay, so first off, this just sucks. You have now milked every last dollar out of everyone here with no payoff at the end. We're now spending a lot of money to have seen Let Into Gold.
Yeah.
Which was fine, but I probably would have just drank somewhere else and came and seen them and left. The other thing was they're set up. His gear's all set up and over this. Let everyone else leave and let the synth nerds hang out, and we'll hang out with Kevin and him just go over his gear and tweak knobs, and you could have salvaged this for the people that just wanted to hang out with Kevin and fuck around and
or
drink.
even just
Noodle
played
for
some music, anything.
Anything.
Yeah, they did nothing.
It was
turned on all the house lights.
Yeah.
Told us that we could buy discounted drinks now, which they forgot to apply, by the way, because I did go to the bar with a couple people and bought some drinks, and then the lady said, "Oh, I forgot to discount these."
It was a bummer. Yeah. That said, I really did enjoy Let Into Gold, and it was rad seeing people I haven't seen in a very long time. I will spin the end of that in a positive note. Otherwise, it really fucking sucks.
I can springboard off of that.
There we go.
So I didn't even know that Let Into Gold was the opener until the day of. I was so excited about Puppy, I never paid attention to who the opening acts were. And as I'm there, and
did you Disheveled playing?
Oh shit, I'm playing, cool. But no, once I got there and I read it and I was like, oh, Let Into Gold. I was like, what the fuck? And no one else seemed to know either. Because like as they're performing, like multiple people came up to me and were like, "Hey, who's this?" I'm like, "This is Letting to Gold." They're like the old school Letting to Gold. I'm like, "Yeah." Like apparently they just released some new stuff and they're here performing and like and it was cool to see Paul Barker doing his thing. I didn't realize this until after the fact, but the person doing all the synths and the sequencing and such was Josh Hawley from Moleco Industries.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was really cool to see like the two of them, because I know they've collaborated with pedals and modules.
I had
and shit.
no idea.
And
I've seen that human before. I've seen Josh before, and
he looked different on stage and a big beard and like behind all that gear and shit. Yeah, I didn't know it was him either. I was kind of excited to find this out after the fact. And it was a good set. Like I liked the new material. It's cool to see them jamming out. I don't know if Josh had involvement with like the recording of that material, but he did a good job helping Barker perform it. That's for sure. And so I did some gear spying. I especially enjoyed Paul's vocal effects. It sounded identical to like the old effects from Faster Than Light. Like it was very. He used the like same effects on all the tracks, but I like that effect.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's just old like wax tracksy sound to me, and it was cool to hear that
Was
live.
it like SE70 or something like that?
I have no fucking clue. And I was gonna put that out there. Like, if anyone listening has any idea what that effect is, either the old school version of what he's doing now to replicate that, please give a shout, because I'd really like to know. Just because I'm a nerd and I love vocal effects, and that effect in particular has always been a big one for me. And I was excited to hear him just doing vocal effects live. Like you don't fucking hear that like ever enough, and that always bums me out. Like, bands like that like the recorded material is like relying heavily on vocal effects, but then you see them live and they don't bother to do those effects, and it just sounds like a shitty karaoke version. Has always bothered me.
The dude at front house is just turning the reverb on the aux send up a little bit.
Right. So it was cool to see that they put effort into the effects. I only heard a little bit of feedback in like the first or second song, and then it seems like they dialed it in and ironed it out, which was cool. Because I know just from like doing the Prometheus shit, like vocal effects live is a huge fucking pain in the dick, but worth it if you put in the effort. You know what I mean? Like it's not impossible. Right. You just need some compression and some noise gating and some sound checking. But so that right off the bat, I thought was good. And that was the only thing that I couldn't spot. Everything else, I found that they had. What did they have? He was using a keytar. I have the name of it. Where did I?
Was it the Netherblade?
It was not the Netherblade. I'm sorry. It was the Casio AZ1 keytar, which is vintage and rare. And it looked good on stage. All white keytar. I was kind of jealous of that. Other gear Josh was using was a Dave Smith Pro 2 and an Akai MPCX workstation. No idea what Barker was using as far as pedals go either for his guitars, but it all sounded pretty good.
It did.
And I imagine some of that was probably Moleco Industries stuff,
I think so.
Which would make sense. And then for Skinny Puppy, even though we didn't get to see them live, I had 30 minutes to linger around the stage and take notes.
Wow.
I tried to gear spot as much as I could, and then there was a few things that I couldn't identify, and I looked at those up.
Did you
online.
have like one of those like old timey spy cameras that are real tiny,
just dangling from the ceiling? My bow tie is like taking pictures. No, I was just fanboying, and I was really curious to see what the fuck Kevin had going on up there this time around. So from what I could determine, they were using a Moog Sub 37, an ASM Hydro Synth Explorer,
nice,
Korg K-Oscillator Pro, Chase Bliss CXM 1978 Studio Verb, the one with the fancy automated faders. What else? A Critter and Guitari organelle, a Roland V-Synth GT, a Roland SP404 FX looper, an iPad running some shit that I didn't recognize, and a laptop running some shit that I didn't recognize, a couple hand drums, and some other little doodads that I couldn't make out. But that was what I could figure out.
Yeah, that's about what I saw too. From the pics.
You were spying too.
Oh yeah.
I'm really curious as to what they would do with the Chaoslator. That's a very like weird.
I saw footage of him using it live. I think a lot of that was just doing like this resonant affecting on his synths.
Okay.
He was kind of using it. I had a reactor patch that I was doing in Prometheus shit too. Like that I had some of the backing track going through, and then I could control it with 2 knobs, and it would just kind of make like a screechy resonant filtering of whatever the hell I had running through it. And I think from the footage that I saw of them live, I think Kevin was kind of using the Chaoslator in the same way.
Oh, that's cool.
It's kind of just like some extra improvised affecting of things and making it screechy. I don't know if Ogre's vocals were going through it. Some of the clips that I heard, I didn't hear a lot of effects being on his voice. Not like the old stuff, you know what I mean? Drenched in the delays and such. But maybe some of that was going through the Chaoslator as well.
I mean, maybe they just didn't have Ogre's stuff set up because they knew at noon that he wasn't actually going to play.
I mean, there was a whole rack behind Kevin's setup too that the vocals might have been going through. I couldn't see anything in that rack, unfortunately, just like the backs of it, and it was too dark. But maybe in some pictures I could get more information. It was kind of convenient because the Roxy Theater was such a small stage that like a lot of Kevin's stuff was all kind of crammed up front. You know what I mean? So like I had the ability to speak some of the shit. In some of the pictures from live shows, like a lot of it was spread out and harder to see. But yeah, the puppy show that wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, and that's the only one they canceled.
Yeah.
So far, I mean, according to the Ogre's post a couple days later, it was the only show that they've ever canceled in 40 years.
They said that the guitarist who came up and said that, like they said, like that they've never canceled a show, and they were like bummed about having to do that.
Yeah, they said like Ogre has fought through illnesses and injuries and vomited on stage and stuff to make the show happen usually, but this time it was too much. And it's a bummer, you know, and like I hope they can reschedule, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Right.
Pittsburgh does not have a lot of venues right now. When they're done with that, the Roxyans probably booked the fuck up.
Yeah.
Other venues are going to be booked up. Like finding a place to reschedule a show on the fly in a month or whenever they're done with their tour.
I mean, they're, as the time of this recording, they're already halfway through their tour.
Yeah.
And the only show that would bring them back near Pittsburgh that would make any sense to schedule around is the Cleveland show coming up on the 29th.
Mm-hmm.
There's a 2-day gap after that Cleveland show where they have nothing scheduled, which maybe if they found a venue, they could backtrack to Pittsburgh before heading out further Midwest.
Is this April 29th?
Yeah.
That's a week from now.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Finding a venue of that size with a week, there's no fucking way that there is a venue sitting there waiting for them to reschedule. And
every after show after Cleveland gets further and further Midwest and takes them to the end stretch of their tour, which the last date is, I think, May 15th or 13th, and it's at that big festival in Vegas. Right. So there's nothing that brings them closer to Pittsburgh aside from this Cleveland gig.
The best we can hope for is a refund,
which they're not issuing yet because they. I don't want to say they as in Skinny Pup. I mean they as in Live Nation. Yeah, Live Nation is saying like it's not canceled, so they're not giving refunds. They're telling everyone to hold on to your tickets, and it's been postponed until further notice. And the VIP thing, to just draw back on that for a second, is hosted by a different company. That is not Live Nation. That is Sound Rink is who is in charge of the VIP ticketing that I am not getting any response from about my 2 VIP tickets that I'm trying to get refunded plus fees. So that was like $350 that I'm out currently.
I wonder if you could go to your credit card and just be like, have them reject it.
I doubt it because there's time limits on that. And I bought these pre-order like immediately months ago. Like I've been waiting for this for fucking ever. So it might be way too far now to do a chargeback.
Well, if any of our listeners are lawyers or have any advice on how Greg can get his money back,
I mean, I'm not alone here. Anyone
Right.
I've talked to that also has VIP passes that try to get a refund it's been radio silence.
right? So so if someone has an inside track on how you can do this, get in touch with Greg.
Yeah, we'll talk turkey. You know, better call Saul. It's a big chunk of change to be going towards nothing. I didn't really have that money to begin with, but I was like, it's Skinny Puppy's last tour. I will put it on my credit card and find a way.
I didn't have enough money for $15 Angry Orchard ciders.
Yeah.
Skinny Puppy's last tour. I made it happen.
Right. Life
I dug
finds
deep.
a way.
Exactly. I dug deep into my soul and I found that $15.
You assimilated
I did.
into Live Nation scams.
See what you did there? Yeah. Wow. And now I have rabies. No, that didn't work.
Too dark venue.
There you have it.
Wow. So any sympathy we may have had for our plight was just lost with these last couple of puns. So we've lost the crowd.
Gotta end on a pun.
Or not. We could have not. That was an option.
Fuck Qubit too. While we're on it, fuck Qubit. Your shit sucks. Just need to get some bile out.
When you edit that, we just need to fade back into just that. Leave nobody with any context.
That's perfect.